All right. So what we talked about last time was mostly about like wall timing. Just gonna make sure that's actually the case because if I watch from review, it might not actually be the case. So we'll see. Wall's fine. Team's walking in. All right. This is kind of a minor thing, but I do see you do this a lot. So I'll just bring it up now. I don't forget. But generally speaking, you spend too much time trying to freeze shields. So if they I was gonna say yeah. So that Arista shield, for example, you just held M1 on it, and the thing about like that is like uh it's not it's a I don't know the exact numbers. I assume it's roughly similar to your icicle damage. Probably a bit less overall. But it's also just like ammo really inefficient. It's very inefficient on ammo. So if you want to like freeze people, you need to make sure you're getting past the shield. If you're not, like just icicle it. It's fine, right? It's not like like M1 is close range, M2 is like long range. Like M1 is CC, M2 is damage, right? So if you're just trying to output damage, just do M2. All right, this fight sort of plays itself. All right, going with the team. So we talked about how you can use wall to disable the TP. You can actually also do it to disable Bongo. That's ooh, that's very greedy to not shift there. I know you want the big freeze, but like, while the freeze is going off, you like, um, your damage is very meaningful after the freeze. So not like risking death for just to get the extra freeze is like super high risk. Yeah, like he almost died like 3 times there, and like there's just no need to take that risk when you have cryo freeze, right? Yeah, so this is like classic player who doesn't really play mid that much, but does play it for the team. Problem, right? So this is good, this is fine, right? And then your wall comes off cooldown, right? And you don't even think about it, right? You could, for example, just like walk around the corner, wall this guy, and then start walking out the Hanzo while right-clicking, right? And then maybe get speed boost as well, right? And then you could push him and just kill him while these guys are isolated, right? Or, right, you could wall off his escape, right? As soon as you think he's even going to try to run, and then just kill him when he's trying to get out, right? Um, or you could just ignore him, push these guys wall behind them. There's a bunch of stuff you can do with wall, but like, now when wall's on cooldown, right? Try and find wall. Like for example, you could wall this and stop him from getting out. You get the kill, right? But you could 100% guarantee by walling this, or by walling this to let you get closer for an easier shot, right? But you kind of just don't think about wall when it's like not a push, right? Oh, that's awkward. But yeah, that's classic not Mei main problems. Oh, Tracer. Okay. Tracer, by the way, is surprisingly good in Rush if the enemy team is running dive. If the enemy team is not running dive, sorry, Tracer becomes not nearly as good. And I'm sure, like, I remember you talking about in the game, like, oh, they have Torb. I can't play Tracer here. And that's good, but just something to keep in mind.
Our world is worth fighting for.
Like this is what I mean when I say like you're mechanically much better than Avery, and you can do a lot of things Avery can't do, right? Like Avery just wouldn't be able to do that probably, right? Um, but like, why are you here also, right? Like, your Ryan's over here. So you should only be coming this way if you're trying to get like a surprise wall, and you're coordinating with your team, like you're telling your team to push really aggressively across this way, so that way like when the Sig tries to back up, you just wall behind him, and then you get a free kill, right? But you're not linking what you're doing with what your team's doing, so this is kind of a questionable like place to be, because like either you or your team is not doing something right here, right? And depending on like you can make this play right by talking to your team and telling them what to do, right? But independently, this is not a good play, right? Although you got to kill, so that was good. But Platypus has the same problem on UW as well, where he just like kind of wanders on his own as Mei a lot, and it's a big problem. That wall is good. Background positioning is fine. Right, again, like see how split you are from your Rhine, right? This is like McCree positioning, and like this would be fine, right? If like, or like any other DPS except Mei really. But this is only good if like you can find a wall somewhere where your team intends to fight. And right now it doesn't look like you guys are coordinating, right? And you're kind of getting spammed out. Hard to get healing from here, so you might have to bring Crowd Freeze. Yeah, and even though they're running Hog Sig, right? Even though they're running Hog Sig and we're running like Mei Brawl, like they're getting the jump on us. Again, not specific to what you're doing, right? But it is like relevant in terms of like the broader picture of what you and your Rhine are doing, right? So you, Rhine, and Lucio need to work together a lot. Yeah. Oh, rip. Yeah, but like you died here and you didn't press the ice block, and I'm sure you got upset with yourself for that, right? But like, why are you here, right? That's the real question, right? Why are you here and not like somewhere closer to where your Rhine is, right? Looking for a wall so you can get aggressive, right? Or like dealing with this because you're next to your Rhine, and then you'd be like, ah, this is an issue, right? But we're over here on this side of the map for some reason, when this is like where Ian kind of wants to play, right? Where he can get potential flash value, where he can like be annoying, right? You're playing more aggressive than Ian would probably play it because like, you know, you have cryo freeze and he doesn't. But like, yeah, you're playing this like a standard DPS, but Mei is not a standard DPS, right? She doesn't really want to take angles. She kind of just wants to park herself next to a Rhine and make plays based on around what the Rhine's doing. Yeah. And like you're dropping, this drop was also pretty questionable, I think. Mostly because there's just not a need for it. I know you're trying to freeze the Sig, right? But again, like you can also play for like your right click. Your right click is good damage, right? I think you're overinvesting in the idea of like walling and freezing, and that's like play number one in most cases for Mei, right? They've already initiated. We're no longer running in and walling, right? At this point, we need to like play the fight out, right? And then once they try to back up, then we run in and wall, right? Or when we feel like we're at a strong enough advantage. But right now they're ulting. We're trying to recover, right? We beat it to live through the Sig ult. Our Rhine like hit the ground and is like in the middle of stuff, right? This is not the time to be like running in and trying to get a big flank with Mei, right? You just kind of need to chill here, shoot this hog, shoot these guys, right? Don't die. And then when your team's ready, right? Then you wall behind here and then you just kill a Sig for free, right? Yeah, this is just too aggressive based on the situation, or not too aggressive, but yeah, I guess it's too aggressive. But like you're playing these angles. Okay, I don't want to harp on this too much, but like to summarize, you play angles away from your team, like a normal DPS, but you're playing Mei, and then right, we missed the window to engage because we're kind of split up really awkwardly, and so they engage first, and so we just need to survive their engage, then we take our turn, right? We don't need to take our turn yet, so you don't need to be here. All right, most problems I'll talk about will probably be along that vein, so I'll just point them out like in a more situational sense. Because like mechanically, your Mei is fine, right? Your icicle aim, I'm sure you miss walls here and there, but everyone does, so yeah. This is good, right? You actually apply a lot of range pressure. In fact, you're doing more than the Torb is. a lot more. Alright, he got his ult. Chillin'. Make sure you look to your right so you actually know where the goo is. He missed. Okay, cool. This is good, right? How was that a headshot? Alright, this is fine. I was wondering how that happened. Also, I'd like to point out, right? When was the last time you used wall here, right? Like, when was the last time you used wall? Because it was a while ago, right? And like, this is what I mean. Where like, yes, there's not a lot of things that are obvious to wall here, but there's a lot of things you can wall here, right? So let's go back to when you actually used your last wall. So at this point, right, if we're not engaging on something, right, you could wall behind this guy, secure the kill, right? You could wall this guy off, these people off, stop them from doing anything while we're securing the kill, right? Or you could like potentially, I don't know, if there's a crisis over here, you could throw a wall over there as well. But that's probably like lower on the priority list. Right? Again, you could just wall this, right? And then go do whatever you want, right? And focus on that side of the map, or you could wall that, focus on this side of the map, and when this Torb shows himself, you could wall that, go deal with Torb, right? Right here, right? Instead of chasing, right? Wall first, right? Go do what you want, right? And that way your team gets the use of your cooldown while you get to do it while you're doing stuff, right? Or just wall the Torb off. Right? You could throw a wall, mess with these guys, slow them down, and then buy time for your team to come back. Like, we're not in a situation where we're actively going to be pushing out with Lucio, right? So there's no rush to run out. So if there's no rush, right, you can use wall for literally whatever you want. Again, Owen right now has to LOS a bunch of stuff, right? If they were still shooting him from this side, it could be kind of awkward, so you could potentially just wall them off. In this case, they're rotating, so it's whatever. But if they were still trying to like shoot Owen, right, being able to wall that is really good. Also, for what it's worth, wall is one of the best Roadhog answers in the game. Because if he hooks, you can just break it with wall, basically. And that's a super strong thing you can do. But, I mean... That's not super high on your priority list, because I'm not running Orisa, but... Right, so right here, right, you could just turn, wall this, right? This guy guaranteed dies, right? Again, you can wall retreat of somebody here. Doesn't really matter who. Yeah, it can also just make it so when you push in, right, you're not getting shot by a bunch of stuff. You can just isolate one angle at a time, right? Again, you're just not using wall. Like, the last time you used wall was forever ago. There, that's a wall, right? The problem is, like, your team can't follow up on this, right? So this is, like, an individual impact wall. So this is the kind of wall that, like, is all this kind of stuff, right? It's just that, like, you could have done this way, way earlier, right? And again, you're not using wall to neutralize an angle. You use wall to trap an angle on a guy that your team can't push on, right? So I'm not going to criticize the wall because it's not, like, really a bad wall in terms of, like, it's not going to get punished, like, ever, basically. But just things to keep in mind, right? That's awkward.
Everyone stick together. We can do this.
You could just push behind him, to be honest. Okay. Yep. Yeah. So that was more or less fine, right? I think your wall and Blizzard was a little bit rushed. You probably should have started on high ground, right? You just play with your Rhine, right? I'm not really sure why you're low ground to begin with, but that's not like a Mei specific thing. That's just the general issue. And then like once you were in that situation, you played that fight more or less fine, right? I think at some point, once you use your ults, you could have just like, instead of like walking this way and flanking, again, you can just go back, play your Icicle, and be in a better position to regroup with your team if like the fight doesn't go away, and that way of like, if everybody lives, right? So obviously everyone died here, right? But if like everyone maybe like realized the fight wasn't going south at the same time, and like everyone tried to live, right? So in rank, for example, like everyone made a read that like they could live, right? And then just everyone started backing out, you'd be in prime position to like regroup with your team and reset for a later fight, right? Or just like you know, reset for like another fight in a couple of seconds, right? This is very all in, right? I'm gonna flank and kill someone or die trying, right? So there's just not really a need for that when you can just kind of back up. That said, right, if your team was hard committing, this would be fine. The problem was like they outlasted your ults here, right? And they started counter ulting, and your team had to back up, right? And so like, yes, you were behind them, you're doing big freeze, but like it wasn't like winning the fight, your flank. Unless I literally let you run rampant.
Hey, 我又回来了。
Turn it up.
Alright, this is over focused on cart, right? Your team already dropped cart. You don't need to worry about this. You need to worry about this, that, right? Icicle, right? With icicle or with freeze, right? So when your team jumps out this way, if you peek this and you realize that there's a big concave and you don't have an obvious wall target, right? Either you sit here and you shoot like maybe the turret or the sig until you can find a wall target for your Rhine, right? Or you realize the hog's there and you just run over here, you catch him and you kill him, right? Or freeze him, make him drop, just like control the off angles, right? And this is the time you can do this because like I'm trying to come up with a better way to distinguish this. Because your Rhine dropped and he's already in the middle of them, right? He dropped and he's like, they're on cart. So he doesn't really need help catching people. And if you catch them, you can do it easily from high ground as well. So you can do it safely while shooting icicles, right? You can catch someone if they're very obviously in range of the Rhine. You can just stop them from running away. And then again, this is like the important part of the map, right? This is where you can potentially lose the fight, is like off angles. This guy. So it's good when you drop that you recognize this, that you understand this guy's an issue, right? But the problem is you're standing in the middle of their concave, so you're actually very likely to die. So you're probably going to shift here and live, but it's just very high risk and also reduces your impact, as opposed to just standing here shooting, realizing the hog's over there, or just like poking out this guy, shooting this guy in the face, because this guy can't heal himself, shooting this guy from up here, right? Shooting the hog from up here is actually relevant, shooting the sig, shooting the Lucio, like, just sit up here and shoot, and then find an ice wall. If you can't get it, right, just go and catch the hog, right? That's what I keep repeating myself. This is a bad habit I have, but basically, if like normally you play with your Rhine in these situations with because they usually have a Mei of their own, right? So you're needed to counter wall and also to control the other Mei. But if they're just playing like this wide concave, right? You don't really have to be with your Rhine as long as your Rhine can swing at something, right? So if you just give him a wall, right, he gets to do what he wants, right? And for the most part, you're not too worried about needing your CC to control things for your Rhine to hit them because they don't really have mobility besides the Doom, and the Doom isn't something you can control anyways, right? Your Rhine has speed. If you need to wall for him, you can. If not, you can just go do other stuff. And okay, so to distinguish that between what you're doing here, why is Ross here? To distinguish that between what you were doing here, right? The issue with this, right, is your Ryan's hanging out here, and he doesn't actually know what he's, and you guys don't actually know where you're going to take a fight, right? Are you going to take the fight here? Are you going to take the fight here? Are you going to take the fight here? You don't actually know, and it wasn't calmed very clearly. So as a result, you just kind of played here, and you weren't in position to like follow up on whatever your Ryan was doing, and your Ryan wasn't in position to follow up what you were doing. So your Ryan got ulted because he wasn't ready to fight, right? And then you walked in on the right side for a big flank and just died, right? And that's what I mean. Like you can just chill high ground and shoot icicles, and it's totally fine. Until like a better opportunity comes up. And then also, in this case, your Rhine is doing stuff, right? So that means you're allowed to do other things, assuming your Rhine does not need your wall or your CC.
Double kill. Score 0-1. Switching sides. Ready for battle.
Oh, game started. Alright, so I don't like us all taking this door, because it's just asking to get walled, right? I'd prefer if, for example, we all came out this way, because there's more room to maneuver, and then our McCree just kind of sat here waiting for the enemy team to like get pulled to them, and then he came out and poked his nose out and started shooting, right? Or we try to like force our way out this door, right? We walk out this door, right? We set up here, right? And then our McCree would maybe come out on this side, right? But whatever case we're doing, we want our McCree splitting, and we also don't want to be going on the door they're already holding, right? If we already know they're holding here, don't come this way, right? That's not a you specific problem. I don't know why I'm talking about that now, to be honest with you. This is also an issue I'm noticing, is you tend to hold your ice block for a long time, relative to how long you actually need to hold it for. So this is like a common habit, is just people like want to get more healing out of it, want to build more like ult charge out of it, But the big thing is like you just need it for the invulnerability to buy time, right? It's like Wraith form, right? You don't need a fully Wraith. You just need a Wraith long enough to live. Except that a lot of times Wraith form is needed to get you out of some like weird positionings, right? So you oftentimes use all of it trying to like get out of a weird spot, right? But for Ice Block, you end up where you start, right? So as long as you have enough invincibility to get help, right, that's all you need. So to go back further,
Red 1.
this was okay. But this is what I mean, right? Like your team got separated. This is the whole issue with the strat, right? And then when your team gets separated, I don't know if you can. I don't know if you should assume that your team got split here, but like, I don't know. This was kind of asking it to happen, playing this this choke. So be careful running into them off a wall because most of the time your wall is a counter wall, right? Your wall is to make their Ryan think twice about committing, right? It's not actually to go kill the other Ryan unless the Ryan does something stupid, right? So once you get the wall, don't run straight into him. Like you still want to like keep your Ryan in frame, and then like play to his slightly to his side, right? So if you're like the ideal position, you walk out as if you don't see your Ryan, you back up until you can find your Ryan, right? And then you swing to the side, right? That's a very easy like obviously they're like it's not optimal necessarily, but that's a very easy like rule of thumb, right? You want to keep your Ryan in frame. You need to know where he is, right? So right here, right? As soon as your Ryan steps forward, right? They're not shooting you, right? This should be like an unfreeze and jump behind the cart, right? And you'll be fine. I guess that's more or less what you did anyway, so. Alright, so this is an issue, right? So this wall kind of sucks. It doesn't do anything, right? All it does is make the team focus harder on this Ryan pushing, right? But when the walls are coming back up, and you should know when those are coming back up because your wall is also coming back up, you need to start restacking with your Ryan. So I told you to split wide once you use your wall, right? And go to the side, wherever side he's on, right? Or sorry, go to the side of your Ryan wherever that is, right? But then once wall starts coming back up, you need to start realigning with your Ryan because you need to get ready for a wall push. And if you get cut off from your Ryan with a wall, right, then it gets ugly. Right, so playing top of cart, fine, right, because you can't get walled. But once you dropping down on the right is very risky. Like I know, like you're trying not to get frozen, you're trying not to get shot, right? But the problem is like you see you're dropping from the opposite side of your Ryan, right? The person who should be splitting from your Ryan is this guy, maybe this guy because this guy can do other stuff, right? But for the most part, like you, Bap and Ryan need to always be in like within LOS of each other pretty much. And you personally need to be like basically right on top of your Ryan. Within reason, right? You don't want to really get swung on by hammer too much, but you can. But like if this Bap's healing your Ryan, he's healing you at the same time. And you need to make it so that if your Ryan gets walled, you're right there with him, right? Looks like you're lagging, to be honest. Like screen's like jumping all over the place. But again, like you were ahead of your Ryan there, and that's why you died. It was a good wall, right? And the timing of it was even fine. But you're ahead of your Ryan, and you could have gone that wall like a second or two later by just staying slightly behind your Ryan in terms of entrance, keeping your Ryan in front of you, right in frame. And it probably would have been at least that's good, and you also wouldn't have died probably. Alright, trying to organize a push here. We have wall. Unlucky. Oh. Alright, kind of an awkward fight, but it's fine. Yeah. Regardless, like, reflecting on the last fight, like your wall, like it did come up, and it was a good wall, but it came up very late and after their aggression, right? So this is kind of more of a team specific thing again, not really you specific, but like Mei is so central to the team. It's kind of like playing main tank, where like a lot of your mistakes are team mistakes, and vice versa. So we kind of, especially if we're looking for a window, we should be looking for a more aggressive play, right? Because we like once the window comes up, we shouldn't all be stacking behind the window, right? We need to push in front of the window and make them like respect the window, right? So once we put up the window, we throw the fire strike. We need to all be like walking forward. I know the Rhino, like, but the Rhinos got to here by the time we use the window, and then he slammed us, right? So that's really rough. But the big thing is like, you and Ryan, as soon as the window comes up, like throw your fire strike and then like walk through the window, right? That's really, really important. And that way you can look for a wall to catch someone and stop them from running away from the window, right? You go for the kill. I know that's what you're trying to do as well, right? So I don't really blame you for this. But like, we let them get way too close before we made our play, and then we weren't ready to like really push forward to capitalize after that, and then they shattered. So again, not really you specific, but it is you relevant, I guess. All right, they use a really bad. Just gotta be patient, right? The wall will come to you, right? I tell this to all my auto players as well. The good cooldowns will come to you, right? You just need to wait. So right here, they beef a wall. This wall is awful. It's horrendous, right? And then not only is it horrendous, they don't hold the wall up and they drop it immediately, which gives you all the time in the world to punish, right? So now you just gotta wait for your Ryan to walk forward, and then you can line up your wall. Like you can put it here, you can put it here, you can put it literally anywhere. Like this wall is probably the best one. But like you just gotta make sure like it actually creates separation when your Ryan's moving forward, right? And you're just too eager to get this wall. You don't aim it, right? Like take the time, right? You've got so much margin for error here, right? That's okay to like again, take an extra second to make sure that wall lands, right? This is, by the way, like an amazing Blizzard. Happy Friday, Justin. That Blizzard's too far, I think. Oh, never mind. Saved. Alright, you should be on cart right now. There should be anyone except you, probably. Again, where your Ryan's holding, that's where you need to be, right? If your Ryan wants to fight here, and that's totally valid, you need to be right up here with him so you can get a good wall, right? If people take a fight without you there, that's like kind of throwing for the team. Not you throwing, but like someone, the team is kind of throwing at that point. Oh god, you took the high noon. No worries, not even close. Alright, I guess you didn't realize I got shouted, that's fine. But you can maybe behind the Ryan, right? Yeah, so again, you weren't with the team when they took the fight, right? That's a big no-no. And then also, right, you didn't get to use a wall until like your team was literally dead, right? And this is what I mean by like you're not actively looking for like any place to use a wall. Like you can wall this spot, you can wall this spot, you can be up here and like find an aggressive wall somewhere, right? There's a bunch of stuff you can do. You can wall yourself for elevation for like I don't know what reason you'd want to, but there's a bunch of ways you can use wall. Wall is like one of the most versatile abilities in the game. You just need to find a use for it and use it, right? As long as you don't think you'll need it in the future, right? If you don't think they're gonna window or something, or if they do window, you save wall for it, and as soon as they window, you just pop a wall in front of it, right? Wall can be used for like almost anything. So just look for actively look for ways to use wall, I guess. Alright, this is probably the most important part to watch, because this is where we get stuffed. But I'm running out of time, so I'll try and do this quickly. Alright, so that's no wall, that's great. Now you just run in, get a wall. Good wall. Easy clap, right? You don't have wall to break him to get him over. What was that? Again, take the time. Take the time to land the ball. You have so much margin for error. All you need to do is just not miss the wall. This is like a very common problem with people who like yeah, this is a very common issue actually for Mei players. It's like they'll feel confident in their ability to hit the wall, so then they don't bother taking time to like aim it, right? And like yes, when you get very comfortable on Mei, you can do this a lot, right? But like your only priority here is like margin of error, right? Get the wall in the right spot and you win by default, right? It doesn't actually matter when you get the wall so much as you get the wall in the right spot, right? So even if like you're a second or two delayed on this, doesn't matter, right? Get the wall down at the right spot. I don't care how long you take to get the wall. Does it make sense? Because the placement of the wall matters so much more than the timing of it. Yeah. This just made everything very awkward. Again, where's your Rhine in frame? Right? Your Rhine's over here. Do you see how like you risk dying by like walking into the Rhine trying to freeze him? It's fine. We get the wall. He backs around the corner. He burns a lot of shield doing that. You just take a step back, find your Rhine, and then shoot from behind the shield or something, right? There's a bunch of stuff you can do, but you don't need to force the issue by like walking straight into the Rhine holding M1, right? Oh, I remember this. He body blocked Owen. Yeah, Ice Block is like the only thing that can body block teammates in this game. I mean, I guess Mei, everything. All of Mei's abilities can, except ult, can body block teammates. That's kind of funny.
Hey. Hello? Hey.
So like if your Ryan gets shattered and you see that, you can just like wall off the choke. He'll go up into the ceiling, right? And that way we don't have to burn lamp, right? Because wall is less point of a cooldown than lamp. That's one example of something you could do, right? Alright, when the team has resources, right? So whenever your Rhine is healthy, this wall is something else. But once your team is healthy, right? So everyone needs to take a second, tell everyone to chill. Get it? Chill. And then wait. And then when everyone's got full health, right? You just walk over here, you wall this side, and you all run at the Rhine, right? And then that's when you hold M1 because your Rhine's on top of them. I spent boo. Yep. Yeah, people are dying instead, fortunately. Blizzard's okay. It'd be better if it probably was paired with the wall, right? So again, like, unless so once you get the freeze, right, you're focusing the Rhine. If you're going to choose to focus on the Rhine, wall out the other people, wall out the other people, unless you know they're frozen on this side. Can I ban B? Does that work? Again, you have wall, right? Just put wall here, cut off the help, right? Help your team, right? And then go back to worrying about the Mei, right? It takes like a couple, like maybe half a second, right? And this is not a wall that's easy to miss like the other walls. Okay, this ice sound needs to stop. All right, so right, again, just wall here, right? Wall this off, focus on the Mei, right? And then you got to do what you want to do, right? But use your cooldowns first. Like your Rhine died, and you haven't used wall yet, right? So you used wall once, once. Actually, yeah, I don't think you used wall at all, right? Like you didn't use wall to cut off. You didn't cut off this spot when you went out with the blizzard. You didn't use wall once you were out there, right? And to buy time while you're dealing with the left side of the map, right? And then you didn't use wall when you're being chased. I mean, that's like probably the least of the least bad one, but turns out no, I cannot usurp the stream. Wrecked. Alright, last fight probably. Alright, this is running out a little long. Didn't mean to do 33 minutes of this so far. Right, team's going right side, or team's going under actually. This is fine. If you hear Doom, like just spin around, look for Doom, and like try to identify where he is for your team. If you can't find him, that's fine, but at least you tried. My man Typo is just one of the high school teams. Yep. Alright, so we're getting aggressive here. Awkward. That wall's fine. Again, you don't have to walk into this guy and freeze him, right? You can just chill here, shoot this guy trying to help him, or like just shoot the shield. Even shooting the shield is like a lot of value. And the thing is, a lot of your walls come up at like angles where like it gives them a really obvious direction to move, right? And that also happens to be the direction opposite where you're at, right? So like previously you put a wall across here, the Rhino was over here, and you were on the stairs and you had to run at him, right? You remember how you ran straight into him in a couple fights ago, right? So this is the same thing where like he's gonna walk to the only side of the choke that of the wall he can, and then the way he's walking also puts him at a distance from you, so you literally can't freeze him. It's impossible. So that's fine, right? You got the wall. The wall will burn a lot of resources, right? Just shoot them and make them burn the resources. You don't have to walk into them, risk your positioning, risk your life, right? And meanwhile, you can do other stuff, right? Oh God, stop with the right. Oh, that's awkward. I thought I had wall. Alright, so I'm gonna end it here. I think that's it. But overall, to summarize your issues on Mei, the most important thing. Stop. The most important things for you on Mei are looking to use your wall more, right? Being proactive with wall, looking for anything. Like just blocking someone is like a big nuisance, right? Imagine it's like a Sigma shield, right? That deploys instantly at whatever spot you want, as long as it's connected to the ground, right? And it's a Sigma shield that like can't be walked through, which is like insane, right? It's so good of an ability, right? Just use it anywhere anytime, right? Until you figure out situations where maybe you should hold it. But when you do use it, make sure you place it correctly, right? That's the number two thing, right? Use it more, right? But when you use it, make sure you land it right. And if you have to give up an icicle or two, that's totally fine, right? Obviously, don't give up all your icicles, but you can give up a lot more icicles than you think in exchange for a better wall. So don't get caught up shooting, right? Focus on where you want to put the wall in the right spot, then go back to shooting. Also, when you put up a wall, you don't have to like WM1 straight into the shield with your freeze, right? Because first of all, the freeze doesn't do a lot of damage against shields. So if you're not in a position where you can really screw them with the freeze, right? It's okay to just sit back, pelt them with right clicks, and make them have to like figure out what to do about the wall. Because like the Rhine has nowhere to go, right? Even if the Rhine has nowhere to go, right? Walking into him isn't even necessarily better than just shooting him, right? Because like he has to hold his shield the whole time, right? And he's sad, right? And when the wall goes down, his shield will also go down, and then you can walk at him and freeze him because you know like he has no shield anymore, right? So that's not to say you shouldn't like walk into him, but I'm just saying like even if like he's isolated, can't do anything by himself, there's still value in not running straight at him, right? And running straight at him is how you get like, for example, flashbanged or like Torb meat shotted or like frozen or not frozen, like shattered, right? There's a bunch of bad stuff that can happen from exposing yourself positionally, right? So base your position on what your Rhine's doing, right? And then I need to stop saying right. Base your positioning on what your Rhine's doing. Look for walls more. And then make sure that the wall connects, right? Make sure it's a well-placed wall, and don't worry so much about like the uptime, the speed you put the wall up. I think that's everything. If you have any questions, let me know. And yeah, I hope that was helpful. If you get to this part in the video, DM me what 9 times 0 equals.